Misty to be here, and I'm finally reviewing Deadpool and Wolverine. So I saw this movie, I'd say 2 weeks ago, and I did like it, but it's not great. And I'm going to explain why it wasn't great in my view. So, before this movie came out, I started watching the two previous Deadpool movies because I hadn't before. Because by the time those movies came out, I was still a teenager and still had to follow under my mom's rules. So, I couldn't watch them. But then I was planning to see them as soon as I turned into an adult, but I just never got to it. Until Deadpool and Wolverine was announced. Mostly I wanted to check the movies out to catch up with the series and see if Disney messed up the character of Deadpool to make sure that there's not like continuity breaks or lore breaks or any of that. Everything that Disney is common for nowadays. And I'll say for the most part, it somewhat is what it used to be. It feels a bit MCU-ified. Like, don't get me wrong, there was plenty of blood and gore, or more blood, in this movie, like the original, but the original films felt a bit more violent than this one. Like, it was definitely high up. I'm still surprised Disney made an R-rated movie, but granted, this is because Ryan Reynolds told them to and convinced them that this movie will do well if you have that, basically. It sounds like there's a bunch of things that they were worried weren't going to be in the movie because it was Disney. But anyways, I might as well get to the plot of the movie. So the plot of the movie starts with Deadpool saying that he's asking, like, I'm surprised Disney brought me back for another movie from someone who doesn't deserve a movie. And then he also mentions the title and how we're not going to disrespect Logan's death from Logan. Now, I haven't seen Logan, but I did hear he did die in that movie. Mostly because Hugh Jackman wanted to be out of the X-Men series, which we'll get back to that. So, Deadpool makes this joke that we're not going to disrespect it because Wolverine is not truly dead. And he's digging up his body where he eventually finds a corpse. I will give credit where it is due, because lately the MCU has been bringing back characters, even if they died, back to life. Like, for example, they brought Dr. Octavius, Electro, Green Goblin back to life, even though they had died in their respected films. And it's nice that they acknowledged he's dead and he's not coming back. I'll give lots of credit there. And then the TVA comes in. Ugh, the TVA. I hate these people. Not because they're like bad people and they're the main antagonists. The TVA is just so stupid as a concept. A time agency where they eliminate rogue timelines to prevent things from happening from what is supposed to happen. That makes you think all the things that they could have prevented. And showed their hypocrisy when they said it was completely fine for the Avengers to do it, but not Loki. And I can totally say someone like, oh, but the lady said that it needed to be done. Well, that's stupid. Like, a concept of a Loki series, a series based off Loki, the one who escaped from Avengers Endgame, was a good concept. Sure, maybe you could have even had the TVA in it, but they are such a stupid concept with all the things they could have prevented. Like the Eternals. Never saw Eternals, but the trailers brought up really good points, like why weren't you here for, like, Thanos, for example? And their excuse is because we were told to, which is dumb. This is why I hate the modern MCU. But anyway, continuing on, the TVA come and tell Deadpool to surrender and stop what he's doing. But then he decides to use Wolverine's skeleton as a weapon, and we get a whole segment, which I will admit is actually pretty good. I actually was excited when I saw this scene with all the violence. Yeah, no, I'm surprised I said that too. Just the action, and then the music definitely helped the scene a lot. I have unfortunately been listening to that song way too much, because every time I hear that song, I think of that epic moment from the beginning of the movie. And the scene ends off with Deadpool with Wolverine's claws, and then the title screen, and then, of course, like the Deadpool movies, he explains what happened before all of this happens. Every single Deadpool movie started this way. He explains that we get a recap of him fiddling with the timeline of his universe. And then apparently he's also in 616, or should I say the MCU, even though it is stupid that they're calling the MCU 616. If you guys are not aware, 616 is the main comic universe. Now, I recently started reading the original comics, and I want to make a separate video of why I started reading them. But from what I've heard from a bunch of videos, there's a lot of things that don't line up perfectly for the MCU to be considered as 616. And I'm pretty sure the MCU had a different universe name until Disney retconned it. Typical Disney. Anyway, he's talking to Happy Hogan, and Deadpool for some reason wants to become an Avenger. That's a weird plot line. Because Deadpool is more the type that he's more of an anti-hero than a hero. I don't know why. And there's even a quote that was brought up in a video where Deadpool said that that superheroes are teachers' pets in the first movie. And also him saying screw your rules in Deadpool 2. So yeah, this is a bit confusing after that research and watching the movie twice. But continuing on, Happy Hogan denies him and say, go for the middle bar, because you neither reach too low or too high. And then Deadpool and Happy hug. Then Deadpool goes back to his universe. Another point that was brought up in another video is, how is Deadpool able to go to 616? Or, I shouldn't even call it that because it's not 616. How did Deadpool get into the MCU exactly? Because the time watch he got from Cable after he used it 2 times and he was stuck in this timeline, and now Deadpool re-engineered it at the end of Deadpool 2 to fit his purpose in changing the timeline of his universe. And somehow he goes to the MCU. Granted, I think this has been done before with Deadpool 2. I'm pretty sure Deadpool went to the X-Men timeline. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Deadpool and the X-Men films are 2 separate continuities, because they technically already had their Deadpool in their universe. I don't know. I honestly can't remember. But anyway, he goes back and he's all depressed, and his friend from the second movie that he saved from getting killed by acid, he says he has the Deadpool suit just in case if they decide to go out again, which Deadpool says he's done. He's done with the killing people thing. And then we go back to his house where it's his birthday, and they're celebrating his birthday. But then the TVA come, and Deadpool thinks they're some sort of entertainers, which, of course, they're the TVA. And Deadpool does this quip like, pruning is nothing new for me, but it is for Disney, which all that was a little funny. But then Deadpool gets pulled, and then we meet the main villain, or one of the main villains of the movie, Paradox, who pulled him because his higher-ups want to bring Deadpool to the MCU and make him worth something. We even get this joke about Deadpool and Thor, which I'll admit was pretty funny the first time. The joke is a little stretched out in this movie, but we'll get back to that. And Paradox is like, do you want to be something, basically, and join the sacred timeline, even though the MCU is at its lowest point right now. It's like the worst Marvel universe right now, because the stuff that came after Endgame, except for a small few, have been really bad. Like, there's only been a small few that are actually pretty good or decent at best. And Deadpool is willingly to drop out of his universe to join the MCU to be something special, because it's a plot line in the movie. And Deadpool gets a new suit, and he loves it. He mentions how the guy giving him the suit was a predator. And then he asked Paradox to send Deadpool back to his universe so he can give them an update, where Paradox says that his universe is going to be slowly destroyed with the Time Ripper that he developed. And he said that they used to prune, which, yes, they did, in the terrible Loki series. And Deadpool, understandably, goes rogue when he finds out that he's going to wipe out his entire timeline. And we also get this problem that I could not stand the first time I saw this, was that the X-Men universe, or the Century Fox universe, as it's called in this movie, is dying because of Wolverine's death in Logan. Which, I have two problems. One brought up by a video, and then a second one on my own. I'm going to start with the one on my own. I find it very dumb that a universe would die just because of one specific character. Like, sure, the installments for the series going forward, there wouldn't be any installments, but you would figure that the universe would still go on with that character. It's like, let's say if I died and the universe decided, oh, D the B died, so we're going to collapse the whole universe. It's stupid. I felt that was like a bit of a middle finger to the people who liked the X-Men movies. And knowing Disney, it probably was. But I don't know, I wasn't there. And then the second point that was brought up to me in a video was, apparently Logan and Deadpool and Wolverine take place in two different time ages in their universe. Deadpool takes place in 2024, because that was when it was released. But then Logan was... The time in Logan was 2029. Which, yeah, that is a bit of an issue that they completely forgot about that. And also, the actors themselves mentioned how the whole timeline works for them. But anyway, after Deadpool goes rogue from the TVA, we catch up where he was digging up Wolverine, and then also using his bones to smack the people from the TVA. But then, after he has dealt with the TVA, he has decided that
he needs to get a new Wolverine to replace their Wolverine who died, because it's the only way to save their universe, even though, again, it's stupid for a universe to die just because one specific character died. I know he was the main character of the X-Men movies, but still. We go through the first universe, and Deadpool is like, Logan, and Logan is willing to help, but then he comes down. Apparently, the size of this Logan is apparently comic accurate size Logan, and Deadpool just makes a midget joke, which I'll admit I did find funny. Like, maybe it's a little insulting that they're insulting the original comics, but I love midget jokes, so I have poor taste in this one case. Anyway, then we go to the next universe. Well, we go through a whole montage of universes. Like, we get to see the Apocalypse universe, or whatever it was, where Wolverine only has one hand. And then we get another one where Logan's an old man with a cowboy hat. Apparently this was what the Logan movie was based off of. Then we get a reference to Wolverine versus Hulk, which was nice. And then we also get a cameo from Henry Cavill as Wolverine. Now, this I did find very surprising. I didn't know Disney was going to do this. And honestly, I know they're not going to, but I would actually consider watching their X-Men movies if they went with Henry Cavill, because he did a really good job in this scene. I didn't expect the same guy who did Superman to do so well with Wolverine. But we know they're not going to do that, unfortunately. But anyway, we eventually get to this one universe where Logan is drinking and the owner's trying to kick him out of the bar. Deadpool tries bringing him in, but he overdrinks and knocks himself out. And then as Deadpool's bringing this Wolverine, which has a comic book accurate suit, which is pretty cool, the villain Paradox says that this is the worst Wolverine because he let his entire universe down. And then Paradox prunes Deadpool. Now, yes, I know that sounds wrong, but hey, blame Loki. That's what they called it in that show, that horrible, horrible show. And then Wolverine freaks out and asks what you do to him, and then he gets pruned as well. Then we are in the void from Loki, and Deadpool and Wolverine begin to fight it out. And I will admit, this action sequence was really good, and I did have a really fun time with this. After their fight's over, we see Chris Evans once again in the MCU, where then they're immediately greeted by a bunch of characters or villains from the Century Fox universe, and we get a joke that Deadpool's like, he's gonna say Avengers Assemble, but then he says Flame On, which was actually pretty funny. I'm actually surprised they brought this Human Torch back, or out of all the members they brought Human Torch back for the Fantastic Four, because if you didn't know, which I'm guessing most people knew this already, Chris Evans was Human Torch in the original Fantastic Four movies, which I did recently just watch the original 2 Fantastic Four movies, and I'll say, they're pretty good. And Human Torch uses his fire powers, but then he loses them because they get taken away. And the heroes get captured, and Human Torch explains that the Leviathan, or whatever it was called from Loki, a lot of references to that garbage show, I hate it. But continuing on, then they eventually make it to Cassandra's base, and I will get into Cassandra in now. So as soon as they arrive at the base of Cassandra, which is just an Ant-Man corpse, we even get a funny joke about how the actor is finally aged. And then we meet the villain, Cassandra Nova, which is apparently the twin sister of Charles Xavier. Now, originally when this character first came out of the film, like when she was first introduced, I thought that she was a character that Disney made up. But no, apparently she's a character in the comics. Which, cool, but I don't think a lot of people really care about this character, because I didn't even know this. There was no mention of Xavier having a twin sister. I don't know when she was introduced. She might have been introduced to later stuff or the newer stuff. I don't know. But we'll get back to her, or how I feel about her, in a bit. So then Cassandra Nova is like, we've never had a Wolverine before. And then also Deadpool rats out Human Torch and she kills him. And I was furious when they did this. This is the second Fantastic Four member that got killed off in the most pathetic way. I was so furious. I'm like, not again. I mean, there was a funny joke that they couldn't afford Chris Evans, but still, it still pissed me off. Anyway, continuing on, then the Leviathan, or whatever it's called, starts coming for Deadpool and Wolverine, but they escape, and they are trying to find a group of rogues, which Human Torch mentioned to them earlier, and we get to meet this dog and a alternate version of Deadpool called Nicepool, who is a feminist. I mean, these jokes are probably contrived as heck, but I will admit, I am actually surprised that there are so many shots at Disney. I don't care if it's corporized. I still find it very surprising that they did it. But anyway, Nicepool gives the two a car. They start heading off there. Deadpool mentions if they can save his world, because, one thing I forgot, the way Deadpool escaped from having his head cut off by Wolverine was saying that the TVA has the power not to only to wipe out his universe, but it could fix Logan's timeline, which, now knowing the fact that they might not be able to, Wolverine gets into a roast on Deadpool. Then they begin to fight. Then, as they're knocked out, or unconscious or exhausted, I don't care. The car begins to drive, and then we meet all of the refugees, or the resistance against Cassandra, and that is Elektra from the original Daredevil movie, and also her own spin-off Elektra movie. Then we also get to see Gambit, and then we get to see Wesley Snipes' Blade, which, funny enough, after this movie, on my birthday, or the day after my birthday, I saw the first Blade movie, and it was actually pretty good. And then the last one being X-42, which is the girl from Logan, and Deadpool's trying to convince them that they need to stop Cassandra Nova, and they're inspired because they survived. Deadpool and Logan survived from the Goliath or whatever. big cloud thing. I'm gonna call it that. Big cloud thing. Then we get a sequence where X-42 and Wolverine are talking. Wolverine reveals his tragic backstory that there was one night that he left and all the X-Men got killed because he wasn't there. And X-42 says you basically need to do better and stuff. And then we transition to the breach to Cassandra's base. And we get a bunch of cool action scenes. And the main objective is to get Juggernaut's helmet because it's the only helmet at the moment that could stop her, because Magneto's helmet, which was another helmet that could stop her, was destroyed. And Juggernaut's is the only other helmet that can stop her and take away her powers, so they can kill her. And while the others are fighting, Logan and Deadpool manage to distract her. Cassandra Nova knocks out Deadpool or pushes him to the side. Then she goes in Wolverine's head, and we get to hear the screams of the X-Men that Wolverine failed. And Cassandra Nova said she can take the voices away, and at the same time, X-42 defeated Juggernaut, and she threw the bag to Deadpool. She was going to be on top with them, but she got pulled down, but she managed to throw the bag. And then as Cassandra Nova takes the voices away from Logan's head, Deadpool puts the helmet on Cassandra Nova, and she is basically powerless at the moment, and they said that they would remove the helmet if she would help them escape, which of course she denies at first. But then one of the servants shoots her, which could kill her, and Wolverine tells Deadpool to remove the helmet, and in return she uses a ring from a Doctor Strange, or who knows, some sort of wizard that was part of Doctor Strange's organization. Who knows? We'll probably never find out. And then the two escape, and they're back in the real world to stop Paradox. But then at the same time, Cassandra Nova finds out that the guy who tried killing her was tasked to kill her. But then she comes back to the real world and wants to use Paradox's Time Ripper to destroy every single multiverse. And then Deadpool and Wolverine have to face a bunch of Deadpools, which lasted for a while. Nicepool got killed, and then they killed the other Deadpools, but they regenerated. And if you're confused, if, let's say, you didn't see the movie and are confused by what I'm talking about with this moment, Nicepool is the only Deadpool that can't regenerate. So yeah, there's your information if you, for some reason, decided to, instead of watching the movie, watch this video instead. But anyway, continuing on, after the Deadpools regenerate, Deadpool's friend comes and they are acknowledging the friend. So then Deadpool and Wolverine go to the Time Ripper area, and Paradox says the only way to stop it is to fuse the two sources together, which could vaporize anyone, even if they have regenerated powers. And we get this whole back and forth thing with Logan wanting to sacrifice himself, but Deadpool wants to sacrifice himself. Then Deadpool tricks Wolverine as he agrees for Wolverine to sacrifice himself. And Deadpool is almost not going to make it, but then Wolverine comes in. They save the day. Paradox tries lying to save his own skin, but the two survive. And then Paradox is stopped. Also, Cassandra Nova is dead because of them saving the world. Then also Paradox gets arrested for doing the bad thing, and the TVA was going to send Deadpool back, but Deadpool saved the world, and also he belonged to the universe. And then Deadpool asked TVA lady two questions. One, if they could bring back the characters who helped him escape from the cloud monster thing, and she said she'll see what she can do. And also Deadpool asked if she could also fix Logan's timeline, and she said that she shouldn't because he wanted to become the man that he is now. And also there's some weird reason that the universe is suddenly saved because they did something. It's not really explained. Then after that, Wolverine and Deadpool chill for a bit, and then Wolverine is living with Deadpool and his blind lady friend. And then the movie's pretty much over, and yeah. Alright, I might as well get my thoughts out. So this wasn't a bad movie. I really did enjoy this movie for modern MCU standards, including how most of their films have sucked. Personally, for me, I think this is where I'm going to stop. This movie wasn't bad, but the MCU is just not worth continuing on with, because the MCU is just in such a state where it can't recover. The only way it can recover is if they retcon most of Phase 4 and 5. But they're not going to. The villains in the movie were also pretty weak. Yes, especially Cassandra Nova. Cassandra Nova, she didn't have anything to do with Deadpool or Wolverine. And, she wasn't terrible, but she probably could have worked better in some other movie and not this one. She's definitely the weakest Deadpool villain. Not in power-wise, but in personality-wise, she is the weakest. And again, there were some issues that I had with, the, as I found out later, it's called an anchor being, which is Logan's universe dying because, or the Century Fox universe dying because Logan died. And also how they treated the Human Torch in this movie, which is pretty insulting. But I'd say for the most part, it's still a decent watch. Even though I think it's the weakest out of the Deadpool movies, I think you can find enjoyment in this movie still. But yeah, I have to say I had to give this movie maybe a 7 out of 10. It's pretty good, but has a lot of problems. But anyway, this is D to the B, signing off. Goodbye, everyone.